Here's your host, Giuseppe Grammatico, the franchise guide.
Today we have Mike Minitelli from Benetrends, and we're going to talk all things funding. So Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Giuseppe. I appreciate you having me, man.
I appreciate it. This is awesome. I've been looking forward to this. We recorded a show with Jen back a couple months ago, and I wanted to do a little bit deeper of a dive in all the various funding options because we've been getting a lot of questions or if there's been changes and updates. So before we dive into that, if you could give the audience a little bit of background on who Mike is and how did you get into the Benetrends and funding?
Yeah, my name's Mike Minitelli. I'm actually a Chief Development Officer here at Benetrends Financial. Benetrends Financial is a full-service funding company. We're based in Lansdale, Pennsylvania. It's about, 45 minutes from Philadelphia. And we're actually best known, Giuseppe, for something that you know and very popular in our industry, something called the ROBS plan. Our founder, Len Fisher, is the original architect and creator of that funding strategy. ROBS is the acronym that stands for Rollover as Business Startups. This is a funding strategy that most people have no idea is at their disposal. It allows people to utilize retirement funds without tax or penalty to start their business, purchase their business, or in cases like this, purchase their franchise. Super, super popular in franchising. But Benetrends also does more traditional lending options, right? And SBA loans, equipment leasing, unsecured lending. And really the role of myself and my team is educating potential entrepreneurs on what options they have. It's to your point earlier, there's the lending environment is always changing and adapting and things do move in different, directions. So it's good for candidates to have an expert, guiding them through the process. And that's what we do at Benetrends. We've been doing it for quite some time. I very much like you and a lot of the people, you work with. I was a corporate transplant. I spent my first 15 years as a, business development individual in different sales roles from a company called Cintas out of college. Then I got into technology and software. And a friend of mine actually introduced me to the franchise space in funding. And I fell in love with our industry. I fell in love with what I was doing as far as, I did like exiting the corporate world and finding this space. I found that the franchise world is a really nice balance of, the billion-dollar headquarters and backings of these great brands. And then the mom and pop that are looking to, open 1-2 locations locally in their community. So, I kind of fell into it by accident. I wish I was doing it the first, stage of my career, but, we all have a different path. And I've moved up in several roles at Benetrends, and now I get to lead the sales team and, work with people like you and different franchise concepts. And it's exciting, man. I never get bored. And it's great to let people know that they have options out there when it comes to lending.
That's awesome. Yeah. And congrats on the recent promotion. That's awesome. It's well deserved that you definitely put the time in there. And yeah, there's so many different options. And for example, I got into franchising 20 years ago. No one ever told me that you can use retirement assets. And looking back, I'm like, I got denied from a bank. I had to get a personal loan from my grandparents. And I don't remember my coach ever telling me of this option, let alone speaking with Benetrends or any company. I didn't even know I had those options. So
yeah, and honestly, Giuseppe, you shouldn't, right? Like, it's not a mainstream product that most of us are familiar with. And, to your point, like, we're all pretty conditioned early on in your professional career. Hey, don't touch retirement fund, right? Put money away, stock it away pre-tax, let your companies match it, but don't access it, because if you do, you're going to be hit with some pretty substantial taxes and penalties, sometimes up to 30 to 40% of that total amount. And, we all don't work so hard in our daily jobs to lose that money. However, through the ROP plan, you could literally access that dollar for dollar. And to your point, a lot of people that are exiting the corporate world or have spent, 15, 20 years in a specific career, not everybody's got money sitting in checkings and savings. But they do have a substantial amount of their assets in retirement accounts, IRAs, 401ks. So you're not the only person to say, I had no idea that this existed when I started a decade ago, and I had the privilege of, talking to the creator of this at Benetrends and kind of explain how it came about. So yeah, it's still a hidden gem out there for most.
I would say most people, I would say not even 9 out of 10. I would say 9.9 out of 10
Have no idea.
have no idea, which that's the value we could bring to the table. I want to come back to the Robs because I want to dive a little bit deeper, and I want to dive into the common what you're seeing. But one thing I want to note is
using retirement funds sounds great, but when is the right time in the franchise exploration process to actually look into funding options like Rob's? Mike answers this crucial question next.
Thanks for tuning in. If you want to learn how to make the transition from corporate to owning your franchise, join Giuseppe on the next episode. You can also follow on all social media platforms and achieve financial and time freedom today.